I can't see the audience. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's nice to be back here with all of you, and thank you again for all the support you've given to our family over the past year that we've been here. And thank you to KSFR and to Garcia Books for hosting this event tonight. I think the only person missing will be Scotty McClellan. But he'll be testifying on June 20th, I'm told, in front of John Conyers and his committee. I understand it's a must-view event. C-SPAN will be overloaded. I suspect that tonight we will all be talking a lot about that lying traitor, Karl Rove. But I will let David Iglesias do a lot of that in his prepared remarks.
Good evening. My remarks are more personal in nature. When we first moved to Santa Fe a little over a year ago, this was just when the story was exploding about the attorneys, David Iglesias and others. And I forget who the intermediary was, but we decided to reach out to David and Cindy and their family because we thought we know something what this is like. And they came to our home for dinner, and it was we had a lovely evening. It became very evident that although perhaps at that point we had different political perspectives, what we all agreed on was the importance of the Constitution and upholding that. And everything else is easy. So we are proud to call them our friends. We're very pleased and honored to be able to do this evening. Thanks very much for your work.
Now, David Iglesias.
Been reading by the media, are they going to get filed before November? And I thought, look, I'm not a poli-sci. And remember, for those of you from New Mexico.
Well, I found out he was going to speak tonight, and I just had to come and see him and hear him one more time. He was a year behind me in law school, and my very first memory of him was one of a very laid-back young man, but very self-confident. And as a second-year student, I wondered who this freshman was bouncing around the forum. Well, I got to know him pretty well because he sat next to me when we were doing Centro Legal. He took that clinical class with me. And he was really a good guy to bounce things off of. And when I heard he was being fired and there was this whole to-do about him not investigating and prosecuting Democrats, I thought to myself, they picked the wrong one to fool with. Because even though he's laid back, he's a nice guy, he is, you know, as you saw him tonight, David has a backbone. He has moral fiber. He has integrity. And he was going to stand up to people who wanted him to do wrong. He wasn't going to do that. And I thought to myself, if they know David like I know David, they wouldn't even try.
Again, you know, this is not Republican, this is not Democrat, right? This is not right or left. This is an issue of right or wrong. And citizens in this country, in New Mexico, have to have the confidence in the justice system. And David has always been committed to that, and it troubled him deeply that the Justice Department was tainted because they should be the good guys, and people always need to feel that way, always. And so that really drove the motivation to speak out. At the end of the day, it's about the integrity and the independence of the prosecutor. That they bring a case together, an investigation together based on prosecution or based on evidence and evidence alone. And so that's really the important message that was given here, loyalty to the Constitution. Sarah Taylor, one of Karl Rove's staffers last year, when she was testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, she said that she had taken an oath to the president. And Senator Patrick Leahy quickly corrected her with very harsh tones, saying, no, you took an oath to the Constitution. And that, in a nutshell, is what has happened.
I think you have to even go further back and realize that the 2000 election was traumatic for both parties. The Democrats believed that the election was essentially adjudged by the Supreme Court and not truly won. The Republicans believed there was massive voter fraud going on. So I believe the Republicans at the national level decided to ensure that there'd never be an election that close again, and that they would use all means, legal or otherwise, to ensure that they would never have to win that ugly like they did in 2000. So they decided that you could use the Justice Department, specifically United States attorneys throughout the country, to look for instances of voter fraud, to prosecute cases. And I think at the beginning they thought there were lots of prosecutable cases, and if you look at the number of cases actually filed by DOJ attorneys, which would include U.S. attorneys, just a handful. I mean, just maybe a few dozen over the past 8 years. I read that to mean voter fraud is not a systemic problem. But if you would have asked me that question back in 2004, I would have believed that was a tremendous problem, and I was wrong.
Well, do you believe that they really believed it was a problem, or was this just kind of a Karl Rovian excuse to give themselves a better edge?
Oh no, I really think that most of the Republican operatives believed that there really was a problem. I mean, I did, but you know, we have the burden. The prosecutors have the burden of proving the case using competent evidence. We didn't have that. I have no idea what Karl Rove thought. I mean, I really try not to get into other people's minds. Voter caging, really terrible practice. If it's not illegal, Congress should make it illegal, because it does have the effect of disenfranchising or taking away the right to vote of people that do have the legal right to vote. Voter caging is a practice in which a party will send voter registration forms to people they know aren't there. For instance, at a college campus, a military base, because of the highly transient nature of those communities. And then what happens is the post office will return the registrations as undeliverable. And then the party takes that down to the county clerk and says, see, these people don't live here, they don't have the right to vote, take them off their rolls. When in some cases, the student is just gone for the summer. Like at some historically black colleges, that's happened. Military bases, I know that happened in Jacksonville, Florida, at the Navy base there. Lots of the sailors were overseas fighting, ironically, for the right to vote, among other things. And their right to vote was taken away. I think that's incredibly insulting and unethical.
Wasn't one of the attorneys who was fired replaced with a guy whose main qualification was that he was some expert at voter caging? Did you say that, or somebody else?
I did, and I go into that in my book also. He's a guy named Tim Griffin, who was Karl Rove's, one of his assistants in the West Wing of the White House. He had been an opposition research guy in the 2000 election against Al Gore, and one of his specialties was voter caging. And his payback was to be a United States attorney in the Eastern District of Arkansas, which is where my friend Bud Cummings had been doing a fine job.
Can you envision a way to heal that and to have a country where the two sides of the aisle are actually governing together in some way?
Well, I'll start off with this. I'm actually still of the view shared by the Dixie Chicks. I'm not ready to make nice yet. Why would I reach across the aisle to a bunch of thugs who have criminalized governance in my country? So I think, and I actually think that, again, I think these people are radicals who've taken over the brand of one of the two major political parties in the country. And the only way that the Republicans